So today I'm going to talk about why we develop so much anxiety. So anxiety is what's known as a secondary emotion. We're not born with anxiety. What we're born with are our primary core emotions. Those include things like sadness, anger, joy, fear, disgust. Have you guys seen the movie Inside Out? It's a great movie, and if you haven't seen it, you definitely need to watch it because it talks about our core emotions. So with anxiety, it's usually a combination of things. When, as children, we are taught that we are allowed to express and experience these primary core emotions, we learn healthy ways of expressing them. But when we're told to just smile through a sad situation, when we're told that anger is bad, when we are lied to about a pet dying, maybe it's just replaced with another pet, then the examples there that we're being given by our parents or caregivers is that being anything other than happy is bad. And that can be really dangerous because all of those emotions serve a very important purpose. So anger, a lot of people think anger is a bad emotion and they think that we shouldn't feel angry. But really, anger is a very healthy and natural emotion. But the expression of anger is sometimes done to a point where we might hurt others or ourselves, and that's when it becomes maladaptive. But it's not a bad emotion. So anger, if expressed naturally and healthily without hurting ourselves or others, can be really freeing. Sadness is another one. So sadness helps us connect to people. Sadness is the one that helps us with empathy. Sadness is there for a purpose. Without sadness, we cannot experience happiness. We would not know what happiness is if we didn't have sadness. They are opposite sides of the same coin. So when a parent or a caregiver doesn't allow you to see that sadness is a natural emotion, or if they try to just cover it up right away and just distract you from your sadness, then you again don't develop that healthy ability to express that emotion. So when somebody dies in our family, or a pet dies, or something is unfair, and we're taught to repress anger and sadness and all of those, emotions down at the bottom and say, no, we're supposed to be happy, we start developing this sense of shame. We start developing this inability to express our true emotions. We don't feel validated. When we're not validated by our family, when we're not allowed to learn about sadness and grief and anger and all of the emotions that are natural to our human existence, then it starts building up and up and up and up, and it becomes anxiety. So we're not sure what to do with this extra emotion in us because we were never taught to express it naturally. So it's really, really important to take steps back and to start working on how do we express these emotions if we were never taught to do so. First, let's talk about why the emotions are there in the first place. And let's start with anger. And the reason I want to start with anger is because anger is an emotion that's constantly in our society seen as a negative emotion. And here's another thing. There's no such thing as a negative emotion. There's no such thing as a bad feeling. An emotion is an emotion. It is neither good nor bad. Just like thoughts, they are neither good nor bad. But how we respond to the emotion can be good or bad, right? So if we are angry and we respond by punching someone in the face, that's going to be hurtful to ourselves and to the other person. So that is a negative expression of anger, an unhealthy expression of anger. But if we are angry and we choose to maybe scream into a pillow, or we decide to journal out our anger and burn the piece of paper, or we decide to go for a run, or we decide to go punch a punching bag, that is a healthy expression of anger, and it can actually be very healing. It actually allows the body to process this emotion and what's going on, and it allows you to get to a better place. This anger gets us to act. Anger wants justice. Anger wants fairness. Think about the last time you got angry. Why? Why did you get angry? Maybe somebody took something from you. Maybe somebody hurt you. Maybe somebody lied to you. Maybe somebody did something bad to another person and you witnessed that. What you witnessed or experienced is something that was unfair. And without anger, we would just be lying on the floor having people walking all over us. But anger alerts us that something is off, that something's unfair, something's unjust. And what it does is it motivates us for action. If you think about social justice and what's happening in our world today, or if you think about anything in history, it was moved by anger, unfairness. There was unfairness, people got angry, and they worked to find a solution. So I want you to embrace your anger. Over time, anger is a really important component to reducing anxiety. Let's talk about sadness. Sadness is another one. Toxic positivity is out there. I'm sure you guys have heard of it before. Toxic positivity is where we are told to just smile, just be positive, good vibes only. Sometimes we're down, sometimes we're up, and that's okay. It's all part of the human existence. We are sad when something happens, when there's a loss, when something goes not as expected. For instance, with the coronavirus that's happening right now. I'm sure a lot of you are sad and maybe aren't even aware that you're feeling sad. There's a lot of grief there. So grief of the losses that have occurred as a result of the virus, for instance. So we are no longer able to maybe go to school or graduate, or maybe if you had a wedding planned, or if you had a vacation planned, if your only way to decompress at the end of a long week was to go out and hang out with friends and grab a couple drinks and some food to eat. And now you're unable to do that because of this virus, and we don't even know when it's going to be over. So what we're experiencing is grief. It's loss. And with grief and loss comes sadness. We're sad. And that's natural and healthy to express and to feel. To say you should just be happy is unfair. It's invalidating. Again, forgetting about that and repressing that leads to anxiety. So we have the repression of sadness, the repression of anger, and then that leads to invalidation. If we are constantly pushing our feelings down, if we're constantly telling ourselves we shouldn't feel sad, we shouldn't feel angry, why don't I feel happy all the time? Then what happens is now we're invalidating ourselves. We're doing what our parents or caregivers or people in the past have done to us and not validated, said, just stop. And then that leads to that shame. And then fear. Fear is an important one too. So fear is a protector. So fear is something that alerts us that we're in danger. And we need fear. We need fear to survive. We needed fear in the past when there was a tiger about to attack us. We needed to fear it. We needed to either fight it or run from it. And so we need fear. Fear is very closely related with anxiety because a lot of our anxiety is fear-based. But it's even more fear-based when we're suppressing sadness and anger and fear and all those three. And then it becomes this big bubble of mess. So how do we fix this then? How? If our whole lives we've been invalidated and told we should just be happy and we should just think positive thoughts and just shift our thinking. How do we change this? Well, we change this by starting with ourselves. If we don't have anyone to validate us, why don't we start with validating ourselves? If we don't have anyone to listen to our sadness or anger without telling us to think positive thoughts, why don't we do that for ourselves? This is why I encourage journaling all the time. Journaling is very helpful in allowing us to express our feelings and not have somebody tell us that that's not a good feeling. So it's you and your journal, and it's private. And that is a really great way to do that. And this is a technique that sometimes I use with my clients that's really helpful if you're open to it. You can journal to yourself. So journal exactly what you're feeling. I'm feeling this because of that, and I'm angry and I'm sad, and I don't care how little or big the problem is. I want you to just journal it. And then I want you to write back on another page a letter to yourself validating all those feelings. Again, this is where self-compassion comes in and validation. This isn't a time to say, well, you shouldn't be sad because of this. No, this is saying, you know what? This is valid for you to feel sad because of A, B, and C. So full validation. So writing a letter to yourself in terms of what you're feeling and just expressing it, just like word vomit it out. And then another letter to yourself saying why it's okay to feel all those feelings. So what would I tell you? So think about it that way. What would Micheline tell me? Would she say, oh, that's petty? Or would she say, that's okay, you're allowed to feel that way, and that's valid. And that's exactly how I want you to write to yourself. So that begins the process of allowing ourselves to not only express emotion, but also to receive the validation that we may not have gotten as children that may have led to not only the repression of emotion, but the feelings of shame and guilt that lead to this enormous amount of anxiety. If you're finding this helpful, please give me a thumbs up. Please share this video and subscribe to my channel if you want more like this. I thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.